Presenting information with a show-don't-tell approach has been lauded in media criticism over the past few years, yet this outlook poses a problem for RPGs, with their inherent magnitude of statistics and mechanics. Gameplay attributes that could use their own shrine page are condensed into just a few sentences. Otherwise, actions are elongated into animations to further convey the context of your commands. To display a game's components with minimal text becomes awkward with each additional feature. Inversely, if something is already simple, then it may not need to be explained. This seems obvious, but it's arguable that it wasn't until Shining in the Darkness that dungeon crawlers could be presented as such. Camelot's iconic icon menu debuts with humbled applause, categorizing actions into clean quadrants. Technically, there's more UI to dig through to get each item or spell, but the trade-off is literally visible. Without indefinite keyboard commands and specific interactions, players aren't bombarded with as much text. Each function dressed with a unique miniature picture or animation, like these funky herbs. This minimalism gets reinforced after each limitation, as every constraint serves for improved readability. Octa-sized inventories are cut down to quads, knowing your equipment occupies half the character's snatchel. Overworld actions, spells, item management, transactions, battle commands, and gear are all ordered into courses. Although recurring commands can become monotonous, it does allow for seamless symmetrical selection. Flicking through these icons was never disorienting, nor required me to read a list of nebulous keywords. This quadrilateral navigation applies to traversing the labyrinth, and player charting by extension. Expectedly, you can only move or turn in the appropriate cardinal directions across the X and Y. Groundbreaking revelations, or should I say ground traversal. Dungeons themselves are fairly square. Each floor consistently occupies a 30 by 30 grid, which is useful because, importantly, a map viewing spell creates a equipoise of cartographic design. This spell costs a single digit of MP, minuscule price, but it's a fee that can add up per dungeon run. MP also stands for micro panini. Mapping privilege is convenient, though ideally players would want to conserve magic for cooler casts, which incentivizes utilizing hand-drawn layouts, memorizing patterns whilst exploring these corridors. Even if you did download a full spread of the floor, your position will still need to be tracked in your mind compass. There can potentially be some interesting scenarios provided by a constant map display, or happily expedient, though losing directional permanence is a simple, effective method in instilling curiosity. Muddling navigation further is the playful usage of various pitfalls, spikes, and spinners. These traps are introduced appropriately for each practice dungeon, like the second sub-area, if you're courageous enough to continue pursuing a path that drains your magic and has you rely on your inventory. The Cave of Truth dizzies your direction with multiple dead ends to decisively check off. Now, watch me spin me. Whee! My kingdom is in danger, and I am surrounded by troglodytes. Downward holes evolve from temporary setbacks to secret stashes to upward ladders. By endgame, your perception of this labyrinth forms into a Rubik's Cube. This could all be described as time-wasting backtracking, though I think it nails a sense of exploration. Knowing every floor is a specific amount of squares, you're left to figure out how to reach each corner, piecing together each layer you've hand-charted to reach the goods. A series of poorly translated adversaries additionally appear to complicate your travels. Cockatrice? No. Cocosaurus. Enemies are overcome the same way you handle map navigation and traps. Scanning through the floor over multiple runs will inherently gain you the required levels in sorcery. Defeating foes with a well-experienced party lets you preserve resources to venture deeper into the labyrinth. Even if you're over-leveled, the game allows you to bypass encounters for that section with a 7 MP cost spell. All this allows the difficulty curve to stay consistently recyclable for each new area, keeping the challenge fresh. You'll never get tired of these gnomes or their absolute madness. By now you should have noticed the exquisite art style. It's surprisingly colourful, comparatively. It reminds me of a fusion between 60s European and Eastern comics. Phantasy Star may have given us smooth tunnels, but now we have thick, spacey rooms. Not even Sprite as a resource could handle the number of dynamic angles on these units. Despite the repetitive brick and mortar, enemies are seldom reskinned, each with their own Dragon Quest-esque pose. Sometimes it's too detailed. Your magic spells can't help but decimate the opposition and the fabric of the universe. Dangerous dungeoning is juxtaposed by the village's expressive shopkeepers and their transmorphing faces. What are you looking at? When you ask this guy to buy, he dies. And why is this innkeeper so cute? Neither of these aspects are particularly fascinating, but collaboratively it lends these caves a cheeky vibe. For a long time, console gamers were eluded by the upfront crawler complexity and their wallets, furnishing the arithmetic simplistically without compromising the core of the crawl is unfortunately rare. It's often difficult to introduce this genre to newcomers. Few players would bother engaging with intricate systems if games lack the difficulty to incentivize them. S in the D is traditional role-playing executed in a stimulating yet digestible context with funny faces. If you decide to check it out and look up all the maps online and follow a walkthrough, you'll likely not get much out of this, and miss the joy of crafting your own maps and discoveries. Though if you're willing to throw yourself in the darkness, then that's where the mechanics can truly shine.